the beneficial activities of fungal members and their general characters, and the different life forms of Puccinia and Rhizopus also we discussed so far. In today's class, let us discuss about the bryophytes. What are these bryophytes? Actually, in lower classes itself, you may heard that the bryophytes are the group of plants which lie in between the thallophytes, the thallophytic algae, and the vascular plants known to be the pteridophytes. And these bryophytes are the said to be first land plants, and they are also called as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Amphibians of the plant kingdom. And what are these bryophytes? Actually, bryon means in Greek, it is called moss. Moss means the plants which lives in groups. Moss plants, they live in en mass, they live in groups. And phyton means plant. The plants which lives in groups are known to be bryophytes. And these bryophytes, they are categorized into three types known as liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. They mute chesko. They are known to be liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. And though the bryophyta category is not that much of economic important, but as a bridge in between the thallophytes and pteridophytes, they have an important role. And the general characters, for example, in one line, if we want to say, bryophytes are the chlorophyllous or green, chlorophyllous, independent, archegoniate, embryophytic cryptogams, archegoniates. See, they are green in color. That means they possess chlorophyll pigment. Due to the presence of this chlorophyll pigment, they are capable of preparing food materials. And whereas they are archegoniates, non-vascular, so their vascular system is not present. That is, in case of just like in case of higher plants, the bryophytes does not bear a separate vascular system for the transportation of water, water and minerals and food materials. So they are treated as non-vascular plants only. And archegoniates. What is this archegoniates? So actually, bryophytes are the lower plants, or in the plant world or in the plant kingdom. For the first time, you can observe the presence of the female gametophyte known to be Archegonium. Female gametophyte known to be Archegonium. Archegonium is a jug-shaped structure which is responsible for the production of female gamete, and this jug-shaped structure or pitcher-shaped structure is known to be Archegonium. So as these bryophytes are bearing Archegonium, they are known to be archegoniates, and then they are the embryophytic plants. So embryophytes, why it is called as embryophytes means, for the first time in the plant kingdom, in the classification, we are observing the formation of or the development of embryo in the bryophytes only. The development of embryo in the bryophytes only. Though that's why they are called as embryophytic. They are called as embryophytic. So, and these bryophytes, as their general characters, nearly the Bryophyta group, it bears 960 genera, 960 genera, and which includes nearly 25,000 species, which are distributed throughout the world and which are living in different localities, and they are residing in cold conditions and in some of the desert conditions also, in drought conditions, and in deep forests, and in grasslands also. So normally the bryophytes, they grow in moist and shady places, moist and shady places, and they live in diverse climatic conditions also. So though they are living on the land, though they are living on the land in the moist area or in the moist regions, but they compulsorily need water for the completion of their life cycle. Water is essential for the completion of the life cycle of the Bryophyta members. Hence, Bryophyta members are treated as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Amphibians of the plant kingdom. So normally they live in the moist, shady places like the sides of ditches, ponds, pools, lakes, and other suitable habitats. And in some cases, so normally the bryophytes usually grow in the moist, shady places, and some of the species of Rexia fluorescens and Rexiocarpus natans and the Riella type of species, they live in the diverse climatic conditions also. And they are actually the above said names are these species, they live in aquatic conditions. And sphagnum grows in bogs. Polytrichum and some other mosses grow in xeric conditions also. That means where the drought conditions are appearing, there also the polytrichum can be traced out. The Dendroceras lives in as an epiphyte. Dendroceras, a Bryophyta member, lives as an epiphyte. So normally the Rixia and Marchiantia type of liverworts, they are confined to the hill areas only. They are confined to the hill areas only. They are confined to the hill areas. Okay. And regarding the body of the plant is, here also the total body is made up of normal parenchymatous cells. Normal parenchymatous, that is, the body is made up of very simple tissue, thin-walled parenchymatous cells, and which is known to be a basic tissue. And at the same time, if you take the transverse section of any the liverwort, it is divisible into upper epidermis and lower epidermis. The upper epidermis is made up of barrel-shaped cells, and below this upper epidermis, the parenchymatous tissue is present, and in some of the cases, below the upper epidermis, a separate or specialized zone is observed, which is known to be assimilatory zone or the photosynthetic zone. Here, the internal tissue is divisible into different compartments. The area is divisible into different compartments, and these compartments, they are occupied by small filamentous structures known to be the photosynthetic pigments. Photosynthetic pigments. The cells present here, they are filled with chlorophyll pigments. Chlorophyll pigments, hence that area is known to be photosynthetic area or assimilatory area. Photosynthetic area or assimilatory area. And below that, you may notice the presence of the remaining parenchyma cells, which includes the intercellular spaces. A huge gaps may be observed in between them, and at the same time, here and there, like in Anthoceras, some of the areas are occupied by some symbiotic cyanobacteria, some symbiotic cyanobacterium cells. Okay, so they may fix the atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. Okay, regarding the life cycle is concerned, just like in case of the algae and fungi, here also the life cycle is divisible into sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. And here the gametophytic phase is dominant one and long living. In case of Bryophyta members, the gametophytic stage or phase, that is gamete producing phase, is known to be gametophytic phase, and it is long living and it is a dominant one. Among the total life cycle, the gametophytic phase occupies wide range, and whereas the sporophytic phase occupies very low range and it is very short living, and the sporophyte may be partially or completely dependent on the gametophyte, and the occurrence of life cycle, the occurrence of sporophytic phase after gametophytic phase, and gametophytic phase and after sporophytic phase, and this cycle is known to be alternation of generations. And regarding the physical appearance of the gametophyte and sporophyte, gametophyte means the plant which is present during gametophytic generation is known to be gametophyte. In bryophytes, the gametophytic plant is known to be gametophore. It is known to be gametophore. And whereas the plant which produces spores and which is said to be short living is known to be sporophytes. And here the gametophyte is dominant one, and it may be thyloid or it may be a small plant like. It may be thyloid in case of Rexia and Markantia, and it may be in Anthoceras, or it may be grow in mosses which produces stem, leaves and the pseudo branches, as in case of Polytrichum and Funaria. So in thyloid structures, it is dorsiventral in its nature. For example, in Markantia, the plant body is thyloid and it is dorsiventral. From the ventral surface, you may notice the presence of many number of wiry structures, the root-like structures known to be rhizoids, which fix the plant material into the substratum, say debris, or on the bark of the any tree, or on the rocks wherever they are growing. Okay, and these rhizoids, in case of Markantia or in other cases, they are two types. They are smooth-walled rhizoids and tuberculated rhizoids. Apart from the rhizoids, you may notice the presence of the scales on the abdomen-like structure on the ventral surface. You may notice the scales in the in between these rhizoids, and in liverworts, the tips of the liverworts, the thyloid structure, the tip may be lobed, it may be dichotomously branched. The thallus may be dichotomously branched, and at every every dichotomous groove, they have a deep groove, and along with this groove, in the center of the thallus, you may observe the midrib-like structure. And regarding the reproduction is concerned, the bryophytes, they undergo vegetative, or they show vegetative, asexual and sexual types of reproductions. Regarding the vegetative reproduction is concerned, they may vegetatively reproduce by means of the bulbs, bulbils, primary protonema and tubers and fragmentation. So normally very basic vegetative type of reproduction is disintegration of or decaying of the older parts. So normally as the plant develops, as the older parts they gets disintegrated, automatically the new pot may develop into a new Bryophyta plant. And at the same time, from the lower part of the stem or from the roots, the new seedlings may be formed, new plantlets may be formed. They are known to be protonema. And some other times, in some of the cases like Markantia, some the violin-like structures or some special type of organs are formed which are known to be gemma, which are known to be gemme or gemma, and these which are rich in food materials, and they are also vegetative reproductive structures. When these gemma are completely matured, they gets detached from the gemma cup or mother plant. When they fall on ground under favorable conditions, they develop into new Bryophyta plant, new Markantia plant. And in some other cases, the roots may produce small bulbs or tubers which are rich in food materials. And these tubers or bulbs also, when after their complete development, they detach from the mother plant and fall on the ground under suitable conditions, they develop and grow into a new plant. Regarding the asexual reproduction, normally the asexual reproduction is done by means of a sporophyte, and this sporophyte, it develops on the gametophyte. So before that, as the gametophytic generation is a dominant one, let us see the gametophytic generation. So normally the gametophytes, it produces two types of gametes, male gametes and female gametes. These male gametes and female gametes, they are produced in the separate organs, reproductive organs. No, the male reproductive organ is known to be antheridium, and female reproductive organ is known to be, already I told you, Archegonium. They may develop on the same plant or on the different thalli. They may be present on the same thalli or they may be present on the different thalli. So depending upon, they may be monoecious or dioecious. And after the complete production of the development of the gametes, these gametes may be dropped down from the male plant, especially antheridium produces male gametes which swims in the water. See, if the water is not present, the fusion of gametes will not take place. The archegonia are also floating in the water. They are immersed in the water. In this water, they may be water or water droplets. The male gametes, they are motile and moves towards the archegonium, and they enters into the archegonium and fuses with the female gamete, and thereby the diploid zygote is formed, and this diploid zygote in turn forms the sporophyte. Sporophyte develops from there and forms into a capsule. A capsule is the sporophyte development takes place, and the sporophyte is present in the form of foot, seta, and capsule. Capsule undergoes development and forming spores. These spores are liberated out, and once again the gametophytic generation starts. So these are some of the characteristic features of bryophytes. Let us meet in the next class.